The sights on it are just factory, which is pretty lame. The magazine release button here is a lot chunkier than on my last Glock, and I really like that.
The slide release is ambidextrous on both sides. The safety is ambidextrous on both sides.
The Nintendo Zapper Ruger LCP, my Wolverine LCP2.
This is a variant of the gun that John Wick used in John Wick 1. He used a P30L, so it's a little bit longer.
But you can see the 38 Special along the top, and it looks like it did almost as much damage as the 38 Special, even though the bullet's only about half the size.
Shoot her! Yes! For science.
Oh! Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Indiana Jones Guns. Today we're going to be focusing on the Smith & Wesson Model 10. I'm planning on taking this to the range for the very first time next week, and I want it to be in tip-top condition so that it can compete against the Colt Police 38. Still not sure which one I want to keep, but I want to give this one a fighting chance. So, today we're going to be installing a Jerry Miculek trigger job into this gun. For those of you who don't follow Jerry Miculek, that guy is amazing. Look him up on YouTube. He's been representing Smith & Wesson for about 25 years. He knows what he's doing. So here's the kit that I got from Miculek.com. This kit was $25. Now this thing already has a pretty nice trigger pull on it. It's really smooth. It's also got very nice single action as well. So I'm hoping to actually just get a little bit lighter trigger pull and maybe a bit quicker trigger pull with this package here. So Jerry Miculek has a video on how to do this. His video is about 6.5 minutes long. I'm guessing for me it's going to take a lot longer than that. So let's get started. First thing I want to do is remove the grips. You can do that by unscrewing this little screw right here. Okay, well that came out pretty easy. And there are the grips. So far so good. Now the next thing we need to do is take off this little piece right here. Now in most of the other videos I've seen, this section here is a piece that's separate from this section. You can just barely see the line right here and right here. So we've got 3 screws to take out. All of them are hole specific. So we're going to make sure we put the right one back in the correct hole. So let's go ahead and pop these out. This obviously goes without saying. You want to take extra care on unscrewing these so that you don't damage the finish on the gun. For those of you who watch this channel, I just got done rebluing this gun, so I don't want to mess that up. That screw was in there really tight. Okay, itty bitty little screw on this one. So we'll put that right here, and we'll just put them in consecutive order as they go in the gun here. Boy, these screws are in here really tight. There we go. Almost stripped that one. This is a gun from the 70s, and for those who've been watching this channel, it was in really bad shape when I got it. So I'm guessing this gun has not been disassembled in a good 30 years. So I'm expecting more resistance from this one here. Oh, there we go. That's the tiniest one yet. So we got all three of those out. Now supposedly, just tapping the frame will make this thing come free. I'm guessing that's not the case. In fact, I'm not even really seeing where this thing separates. Okay, there, now I see it. You can just barely see the line that goes through here for this piece. Yeah, that wasn't too bad. Off it came. Now comes the fun part. This is the piece we need to replace, along with a tension spring that goes right in here. So Jerry Miculek says we need to remove the safety first, which is this little piece right here. Obviously we're going to need to remember how that goes in there. So it was lodged in there like that. And it just comes right out. So there's the safety. Now comes the fun part, is removing this spring here. Now, supposedly this spring has a ton of tension on it, and you're supposed to be able to pull it out maybe like this. He says you want to keep your finger on it because this thing is supposed to go flying because of the amount of tension that's on it. Make sure it doesn't hit me in the eye or something, because that would be my kind of luck with this sort of thing. Okay, well that wasn't bad. I was able to get the spring out. Supposedly that's the hardest part of this project. So, here's the spring that we're replacing with the Miculek spring that's in this kit. Out there. Okay, here's the spring that's going back in there. Okay, so here's the spring that we removed on the right, and here's the Miculek spring. So the Miculek spring is a little bit shorter, not by much. We'll just put that aside for right now. Now, according to Jerry, all you got to do is put this on the tip of your ballpoint pen and push it back in to this hole. Put tension on it, and then push it back down where it came from. I'm sure that's going to be easier said than done. Oh, well, look at that, I got it. Wow. Maybe this won't be so hard after all. So the spring is back in there. Now we want to remove this hammer spring. We can do that by unscrewing this screw right here. Oh, get the screwdriver in there, nice and careful like. And if I'm not careful, I'm going to strip it. Let's use a harder surface. Really push down this sucker. Alright. so the table I'm using here was not hard enough to apply enough pressure to get that screw loose. So I put it on the floor, and now it's coming loose. Now, as you can see, it's no longer applying pressure to the hammer spring. We should just be able to slide this hammer spring right out of here. Okay, there it is. Put that over here. Take Jerry's spring. There we go. And then slide that hammer spring there. Looks like I got it. I get some pressure on that screw so that the hammer spring stays in place. Wow, I can feel the tension just tightening that screw once it hits that hammer spring. So let's now that the kit is installed, we're going to put the safety back in. And then we're going to put that plate back where it goes. Which looks like it's going to be a little bit more tricky than I was expecting it to be. Okay, maybe something's wrong. Maybe I put the safety back in there incorrectly. That must be it, because when I put this thing back in here now, it's got no problems. So there's really only one way the safety can go in there. But this thing will not shut. So I must be doing something wrong. Okay, I think I see. I think this thing needs to go right here into this little wedge. Okay, let's see if I can get it back in there now. Well, looks like the same issue. Without the safety in there, this thing's going right back in. So I've got to be doing something wrong with the safety. I'm just not sure what. Even without the safety in there, this thing is firing. And I pulled the safety out and it was just sitting in there. absolutely no clue what I'm doing wrong here. Oh, I knew this was going too smoothly. Something had to go wrong. Okay, so it looks like maybe it needs to wedge into this piece here. The safety was just sitting there when I took it out, so maybe it needs to come up a little bit. It's still going to be a negative. Okay, so it goes in like this. This goes over it. So I'm guessing it needs to fit in that spot right there. Definitely does not go there. I'm going to take that out. And there it is. That's how it fits in there. So what am I doing wrong with the safety? Okay, maybe it needs to loop over that thing. Okay, it looks like that was it, 'cause now it's flush. And it fires. Okay, so now that we finally made it through that section, let's get the screws back in there. I'm going to put all of them in there a little bit loose before I tighten them down. And the third one in the back. Okay, get them all in there just a little snug. All right. And the gun still fires, so we're good. We'll go ahead and get those nice and tight now. All right. So here's what we got right now. And boy, is that a smooth trigger. But here's the catch. The screw here is not tight yet. as I tighten this screw, we're going to get more and more tension on the hammer spring. So the key is to find some kind of happy medium where you've got a nice light trigger pull, but you don't have any misfires. Because right now, I think this thing is light enough that we're going to have some misfires. So let's just tighten it down all the way and see what we get here. You can actually see the hammer spring bending as I tighten that screw. Oop. Yeah, it's a lot heavier all of a sudden. So, what do we want to do about that? If we put the grips back on, we actually still have access to the screw here. So, I can take this sucker to the range and tighten and loosen the screw as I see fit. So that's a very nice feature here that this gun just happens to have because of the nice grips. Holy cow, that's a nice trigger. And I think at this point we've got that screw pretty flush. Yeah, it's nice and tight on there. So this is, for this particular hammer spring, this is as heavy as that trigger can get. So I think when I take it to the range, I'm going to be fiddling with this a little bit. Jerry Miculek suggests all you need to do is file off a tiny little bit on the end of that screw, and that's how you're going to adjust your trigger pull, which means I never need to pull this part off again because I've got that spring in there. So all I need to do is take this one screw that puts the grips on there, unscrew that screw, and then pull this screw out and file it down. Bada bing, bada boom. So, really looking forward to seeing how that performs, because I actually kind of like it a little loose. Just a turn loose. Yep, right about there. That's going to be my bread and butter for this gun. So, if I don't get any misfires with the gun at all, I'm going to leave it right where it's at. Now, if I do get some misfires, all I need to do is tighten this screw, and that should fix that problem, because that'll put more pressure on this hammer. So that's a really, really ingenious design, and 1 point for this gun when it comes to Smith & Wesson versus the Colt. So, let's go ahead and get the grips back on there, just for the heck of it, because, you know, we can't really say the video is done until the gun's back together. Go ahead and get that in there. But yeah, now that I've got this trigger job put in this one, I'm not so sure the Colt's going to fare quite so well when we go to the range. So, even though I can't add the lanyard ring by Gunsmith, I think what I might do is do the exact same thing that I did with my prop gun that I'm using to shoot my movie with, where I simply bought a rifle sling from Amazon and glued it onto the bottom of the gun. All I'd need to do is glue that on here too, and if somebody really wants to see that serial number, just pull the ring off. Go ahead and get the grips back on there nice and tight. Really, really like this design. Not only is the Miculek trigger job really, really nice, but the fact that you can adjust it right here without even pulling apart the gun is pretty freaking cool. I'm going to go ahead and loosen that just a hair. Yeah, so I'll be playing with that a little bit the next time I go to the range. I'm actually going to take this screwdriver with me just so I can see how light I can get that trigger and still get it to fire on a regular basis. So that should make things very interesting. Oh man, that's nice. Okay, well, I guess we will just see what we'll see with that. That is how you install the Miculek trigger kit onto a Smith & Wesson Model 10. Thanks for watching, folks, and I'll see you next time.